about an hour or so here, we're going to have this vote on this Israel bill. I know Republicans have said, well, you know, Democrats are divided over Israel. Some have said, you know, they're trying to make this point about this bill. But that said, aren't there divisions in the Democratic caucus, and how would you characterize those when it comes to some Democrats who don't want to vote on something like this, regardless of what the motives of the Republicans of putting this piece of legislation on the floor might be? What are define those divisions?
Well, the legislation on the floor today is not a serious effort to strengthen the special relationship between the United States and Israel, period, full stop. It's not a serious effort. The legislation that the Republicans have put on the floor today will defund parts of the Department of Defense, defund parts of the Department of State, and defund parts of the national security apparatus. It's not a responsible bill. It is not a serious effort at legislating, which is why some of the most pro-Israel members of the House Democratic Caucus will be voting no. With respect to the situation that exists right now in the Middle East, there are a variety of different perspectives across the country and the world. Here's my perspective: that Israel has a right to defend itself, particularly against the brutality of Hamas, as was inflicted on October 7th. Hamas has to be decisively defeated. The hostages need to be returned safely. We need to surge humanitarian assistance into Gaza to make sure we can alleviate and prevent suffering of Palestinian civilians who are in harm's way in a theater of war through no fault of their own. We also need a path toward a just and lasting peace moving forward that allows for the reconstruction of Gaza, the identification of Palestinian leadership, the partnerships that can exist in the region, including with moderate Arab states like Jordan and Egypt, and a robust blueprint for a two-state solution, with Israel living in safety and security side by side with a demilitarized Palestinian state that allows for dignity and self-determination amongst the Palestinian people. I think that those values are commonly held across the country and certainly within the House Democratic Caucus.
Isn't that the crux of the whole thing? You took about 2.5 minutes pretty eloquently there to lay out what the conflict is, whereas Republicans try to reduce this to one soundbite, say, oh, they're not for Israel. And that's the problem inside the Democratic caucus of explaining this position, this unique position.
The situation in the Middle East is a complex one that hasn't been complex for weeks or months or years, but for decades. And in fact, when it comes to the journey of the Jewish people, they've actually confronted persecution, pain, pogroms, and of course the Holocaust for centuries. So the notion that my extreme MAGA Republican colleagues want to reduce working through all of these challenges to political stunts and sound bites is the height of irresponsibility. Is anyone surprised on the House Democratic Caucus side? No. The extreme MAGA Republicans have brought nothing but chaos, dysfunction, and extremism to the Congress from the very beginning in January of 2023 all the way through to this moment, and they cannot point to a single thing that they've been able to do on their own to deliver real results and solve problems for hardworking American taxpayers.